This is an editorial comment. The opinion you're about to hear is not necessarily shared by any member of the board of directors of the Kansas City Open, and is certainly not intended to be taken as an official statement from the KCO. I don't speak for the KCO. I speak for myself. On Saturday, March 22nd, the day we recorded this episode of Prodigy, just as I was waiting for the bowlers to descend onto the championship pair so we could start taking their pictures and getting the taping underway, one of the KCO board members brought me the customary paperwork that I always get for each episode of the show and said to me, "You're going to have an unusually short show this time." I replied, "Why is that?" That's when I learned about what had happened. It seems that the adult partners on two of our teams that qualified for the stepladder in Division 5 today informed the good people who run the KCO that they couldn't stay for the stepladder. In other words, they bowled with their junior partners through all 4 games of qualifying, then stuck around long enough for the scores to be tallied, and when it was announced that their teams had qualified for the stepladder finals, these two individuals informed the people running the event that they wouldn't be staying for the stepladder and had to leave. They said they had someplace they had to be at 6:30, so they left. Consequently, their youth partners were deprived of the chance to bowl in the stepladder, even though they had earned their way into it. There's no provision in the rules to replace the adult partner if they leave, so these kids were just out. Officially, the two teams in question withdrew from the tournament. Anyone who knows me or has watched Prodigy for any period of time knows that I am always going to advocate for the kids, and this is no exception. I don't know these adults who withdrew. They weren't the kids' parents, I do know that. And I also know this. When you bail on kids like they did, you send a clear message to the child, and it's not a good one. For starters, you let the kid and anyone privy to what happened know that your word is not good. If anyone thought you were committed to bowling the tournament, they found out the hard way that you were only willing to go so far with that commitment. The minute it became inconvenient, you were a ghost. This place these two adults had to be was another bowling league across town where they were supposed to bowl at 6:30. They'd have had more than ample time to get there before their league started, even if they'd stayed and bowled the stepladder. But they felt the need to stop along the way and have dinner. Apparently, they couldn't just eat at the bowling alley. Here are a few messages they could have sent to these kids had they stayed and fulfilled their role as the adult partner on the team through the stepladder finals. They could have taught a lesson not to quit. Finish what you started. Live up to your commitments. Sacrifice for others. And know that when you excel at something, the adults around you will stand up for you and support you. Instead, these two adults showed their youth partners that their commitment had its limits and proved that even if these kids did what they had to do to succeed, these adults would bail on them when it really mattered. They taught them that quitting, bailing out on your partner, is an acceptable standard to live by. Hint, it's not. Now here's the kicker. I hear these two are coaches. They should know better. Quite a few of the kids who bowl this event in Belton each year are minority kids who apparently don't have adults in their lives who will be there to bowl with them in a tournament like this. So there is a gentleman who recruits other adults in the area to step up and fill that role. My hat's off to him for his efforts. He's doing God's work. And I hope going forward, he screens these adults a little better to make sure that the ones who agree to bowl know they're expected to be in it till the end. I mean, why commit if you're not going to be there when the rubber meets the road? Not only did these adults deprive their youth partners of the opportunity to compete for a KCO title and to win scholarship money, despite having qualified for that opportunity, but their action was also disrespectful to the rest of the field. It was disrespectful to the tournament and the people running it. And it reflected badly on the gentlemen who recruited them to bowl with their youth partners and sent the clear signal that they really weren't there for the kids at all. They made that clear when they chose selfishness over selflessness by leaving just when things got interesting at the tournament. I found their actions personally offensive, and I know I'm not the only adult in the room who did. This KCO event is an adult-youth tournament, but it's really for the kids. The adults don't receive any prize money. Whatever funds are taken in go directly to the kids in the form of scholarship prizes, both at the tournament itself and at the season-ending KCO Invitational. These adult-youth events are the biggest fundraisers the KCO has. That's why there's 2 of them each season and why they're so important. If you're an adult bowler and a USBC member with a book average, I encourage you to consider making yourself available to bowl as an adult partner with a KCO youth bowler at one of these adult-youth doubles events. But don't bother entering if you don't intend to be there till the end of the tournament, or at least until your team is eliminated from contention. If you can't support the kids all the way, then don't pretend you're supporting them at all, because you're not. I haven't named these 2 individuals, and I won't. Where the list of qualifying scores are shown on the show for the entire Division V field, I'll blank out their names and replace them with WD for withdrew. The scholarship prizes available at this event are not so big that they'd put any kid through Harvard. But we've all heard of examples where a kid tasted success in sports and it inspired them to chase greatness in their life. A singular moment that turned their life around. But these 2 kids potentially had that moment taken from them by 2 adults that had better things to do than to stand by a kid after they had achieved something. I hope these 2 grown-ups will think twice the next time they drop a junior bowler in the grease and opt to go do something as trivial as bowl their weekly league over maybe giving a kid the chance of a lifetime. Now in its 9th season, it's Prodigy Bowlers Tour, celebrating junior bowling and elevating junior bowlers. Today, episode 186, the 2025 Kansas City Open March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. 4 teams qualified for the TV finals, but 2 of them withdrew at the last minute, giving the alternates a chance to move up, leaving us with only 3 teams to bowl. Qualifying as the alternates and bowling in the 3rd position is the team of Michael Morgan and his mom, Tiana, of Baser, Kansas. They'll meet the team that qualified 3rd and moved up to the 2nd position, Dwight Criswell of Kansas City, Missouri, and his adult partner, Fred Gordon of Belton, Missouri. And the winner of that match will bowl for the Division V championship against 4-year-old Cameron Lowe and his father, Kyle, of Lenexa, Kansas. They're our tournament leaders. One of these 3 doubles teams will survive our abbreviated stepladder today to claim the Division V title at the KCO and will sign the coveted trophy pin today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. We welcome you to Belton, Missouri, a little ways south from Kansas City's east side, just past Lee Summit and Grandview, to Aaron's Family Fun Center, a beautiful 32-lane bowling center with a 6-lane VIP room where you can experience string pins, if that's your thing. But there are no strings attached to the pins they're bowling against today at the 2025 KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. Today, only Divisions 4 and 5 are bowling. Tomorrow, Sunday, Divisions 1, 2, and 3 will hold their competitions, and we'll bring you the championship finals in Division 1 on our next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. That'll be episode 187, dropping next week. But today, we're bringing you the action in Division 5. The last time we brought you Division 5, it was our season opener back in September, where little Kanan Duncan qualified first and became the smallest and youngest player to ever make the stepladder finals on Prodigy at the age of 5. But today, Kanan's age record falls as 4-year-old Cameron Lowe will become the youngest player ever to qualify to bowl on Prodigy. He turns 5 next week. Although I don't know that there's much difference in their size, as Cameron Lowe checks in at about 3'8", the same height Kanan was in September. Either way, if we're still bowling under the rules we used during Prodigy's Georgia days, both of these young guys would definitely qualify to be in the Littles division. The format in the Adult Youth Doubles Tournament is a little different from the KCO Point tournaments. Each player bowls 4 games of qualifying, with each team's total pins and handicap between the two partners determining their qualifying score. The top 4 teams advance to the championship round stepladder, although, as you've already heard, we had a couple of teams withdraw with their adult partners having to leave. So our stepladder today consists of just 3 teams, as the alternates in 5th place slid up to take the 3rd position, while the 3rd place qualifiers slid up into the 2nd position. So with just 2 matches to play, we ought to be in and out of here pretty quickly. But before we get started, here's how the rest of the field finished qualifying. Here you see the names of the 2 kids who qualified in the top 4 in the 2nd and 4th positions, but didn't get to bowl in the championship finals since their adult partners left. Such a shame. Some other names you should recognize as we scroll down the list of qualifiers. There's Briley Wolfschlager Monty, tied for 9th. Willow Burns in 12th place. And if we scroll down a little ways further, we'll find Kendall Cochran in 14th place. There's the little champion from September, Kanan Duncan, who bowled with his dad Matthew today. Matthew rolled a 300 earlier this season. They finished 17th. Tied for 21st is Theo Lowe. Now, that's Cameron's older brother. Both of them bowl league with us over at Olathe Lanes East. And in 23rd, there's Carter Reese. He and his dad Jason just couldn't get him to fall today, but sooner or later, I know we'll get Carter on the show. But with the qualifying recap out of the way, let's get our opening match started. Michael Morgan and his mom, Tiana, qualified as the alternates, but moved up to the 3rd position after the 2 withdrawals. They're facing the team that qualified 3rd and is bowling as the 2 seed, Dwight Criswell and his adult partner, Fred Gordon Sr. The teams meet at the ball return for the customary handshake to get things underway. The higher qualifiers, that would be the team of Fred Gordon and Dwight Criswell, they had the option of starting lanes. They want to start on the left lane and on the right, so it's going to be Tiana to lead off on the right. She finds the pocket with her opening toss, leaves the 10. So now Fred Gordon, first ball on the left lane. And he stuffs them straight back. High flush hit. Big, powerful strike to begin. All right, Tiana for the 10 pin. And she covers it. You see the handicaps for each of our players there on the score sheet. Here's Dwight Criswell, and that one tails off and into the moat. So a gutter ball to start. And now, Michael Morgan. You see he uses the two-hand delivery. That's what I call the basketball pass off the chest. Dwight Criswell with 6 on his first ball, leaving the 1, 3, 9, 10. Not the easiest spare. And here's Michael for his spare. The 1, 3, 9. It's got a hook. It hooks a little bit. He gets one of them. But that's an open, 8 out, and you see that we've added his 27 pins of handicap into his score, so he's got 35 in the first. Oh, looky here. Tiana leaves the 5-7 here in the second frame, as Fred will be going for a double up on the right. Finds the pocket, but the 10 won't go. So now Tiana for the split. Move your feet about 3 boards left of the strike position. Throw it over your strike target. You might get close. How about make it? Gotta love that. So there's a spare for Tiana Morgan. As now Fred will have a go at the 10 pin. Oh, and he hooks past it. So an open frame as Michael is up on the left. Well, he turned around, never even saw the ball hit the pins. As you can see, we bowl league style at the Adult Youth Doubles Tournament here at the KCO. There's one in the gutter for Dwight Criswell. Well, because things happen pretty fast, there won't be time for replays and such. Michael's ball hooks a little, but not enough, and he gets 8 out. So that's back-to-back opens. And how about this one? Dwight covers up that spare, the full rack, so that's a good thing. He'd love to have had that on the first ball, but hey, marks are important, especially in Division 5. They are rated Division 5 based on the youth bowler's average, not the adult. We will see the adult bowlers in Division 1 on our next episode. Even they get handicap, even though the Division 1 youth bowlers do not. How about this? Tiana rips the rack, throws everything over at the 7 pin. That's a big power strike. Good for her. And Fred takes care of the 7 pin. No muss, no fuss. All right. Now, the number at the bottom of the score sheet, plus 28, that means that somebody is leading by 28. One of the teams is leading by 28. And you tell which team is leading by the arrow. This arrow is pointing to the right. That means the team on the right side of the score sheet, that's Tiana and her son Michael. They now lead by 32 pins as that lead just increased slightly after the first ball by Dwight. There's a spare by Michael on the right wing. Good for him. All right, Dwight for his spare. As you can see, he's got a bit of a backup ball. If he'll get his hand over on the right side of the release rather than turning it clockwise, he wants to turn it counterclockwise to produce a normal right-hander's hook. That's an open frame, and the lead for Tiana and Michael has grown to 46. Fred wide right with that, and he leaves the 1-2-8 as Tiana will try to put another strike on the back of the first one she got there. How about it? And there's our first double of this match. And the Morgans' lead is now 59. Oh. Well, I know Fred has got to be wondering, what do I have to do to make the 1-2-8? We'll get the ball a little farther to the left would be my advice. A little more solid on the 2 rather than solid on the 1. Now it's going to be Michael going on lane 1. He turns around. He doesn't like it because he knows it never got far enough to the right. He clips off 4. And look at this. Dwight Criswell with a strike in the 4th frame. But the lead for the Morgans is 64 pins in the 4th frame. Michael will try to cover this spare. How about one more time? Good for him. That maintains that 64-pin lead. Diana comes up a little thin on the head pin. Leaves the 2-5-7. One of the many baby splits. Little thin. Fred leaves the 2-pin. Could have had more than that up there. Got a hook. Doesn't. So she leaves a couple. That's 8 out. And their lead shrinks a bit. It's down to 47. Fred with a spare on lane 1. Don't blink or you'll miss something as Michael gets 6. Dwight also with 6, leaving a difficult spare, the 1-3-8-9. I'd rather be shooting the 1-2-4-8 than Michael has. A little easier to convert. And he gets it. So that's 3 spares in a row for Michael. And look at this. Dwight makes short work of the 1-3-8-9. Making me look silly calling that a difficult spare. He had no problem with it at all. The bowling you see to our right on lanes 3 and 4, that's Division 4. And when we get to the end of the show today, we will recap how their stepladder played out. Now, Fred up on the right lane. Comes in thin, shakes him up, rips him apart. Diana finds the pocket, but that ball just didn't quite have enough drive to get the 5-pin out, and now she's left herself a very difficult split. And look at this, Dwight nearly had the mirror image of it. She's got the 4-5-7. Dwight nearly had the 5-6-10. Got to fit the ball right between the 4 and 5, favoring the 4 slightly. That's going to favor it a little too much. She leaves the 5 standing. 9 out, another open, shrinking their lead as Dwight slides by the 5-pin. So it's a 44-pin lead for the Morgans as Michael tosses that one right into the gutter. Got to keep that ball off the gray board. All right, Fred trying to put a double together here. Comes in thin. Sends the head pin in front of and around the 2. Leaves the single pin spare. Should be routine. Now Michael trying to recover after that gutter ball on his first toss, but it goes through the nose and leaves a couple. So I believe Fred played out a turn, leaving that 2-pin. He was not up on the right lane. He was up on the left lane. He started the match on the left lane, so he should be throwing his odd-numbered frames on the left. So he gets a mulligan. When you bowl out a turn like that, there's no penalty. You just erase what you got. We never did put it up on the score sheet here on Prodigy. I think they had it up in the bowling center, although it went up on Tiana's score because she's the one that was up on the right lane. So now Michael Strack is fixing that. Michael, one of the board members of the KCO. And Fred Gordon Sr. makes the most of his do-over. And there's that double that he's been looking for. And that cuts into the Morgans' lead some more. It's now down to just 12 pins. They were way out ahead just a little while ago. And now Dwight, well, that ball tails off at the end, but he still gets 7. But as we get down here to the final third of the game, it's starting to get a little tight, a little uncomfortably tight, I would say, for the Morgans. Oh, it's going to get more uncomfortable now as Tiana leaves the big 4. But now Dwight Criswell sliding by to 1-2-5. There's an open frame that will negate what is likely to be an open here when Tiana shoots the 4, 6, 7, 10, otherwise known as the big 4 or double pinochle or double trouble. She moves to the far right side of the approach, suggesting she's going at the 4-7, and that's exactly what she does, and she gets 8. That's the smart play on what is essentially an unmakeable split. I think we've all seen it made a time or two, but it's a 1 in a million shot. Look at this. Michael finds the pocket, the light pocket, and he spreads the 2, 4, 8. The 4 and 8 both off spot, making this a more difficult spare. Tiana bounces right back, puts it in the pocket, leaves the 10. And they continue to nurse a 13-pin lead, so spares are getting more and more important. Michael leaves the 8-pin, so that open frame is going to shrink their lead down to just 2. Tiana needs to make this spare. Oh, but it just slips off into the moat at the last minute. And for the first time in the match, it's Fred and Dwight who lead by 9. It remains to be seen if that will hold, as Fred now has left himself a split, the 2-10. Michael with a good shot, finds the pocket, leaves the 10. The Morgans bowl at Crown Lanes in Leavenworth, where we will be next month for the KCO April point tournament. Oh, and Fred gives it a real go. That couldn't have missed by much. Michael tries to throw a backup at the 10-pin, but gets it a little too wide left, and into the moat it goes. So after that exchange, it's Fred and Dwight who still lead by 4 as we get down to the final tosses of the game. Well, now that ball bounced out of the gutter, which means that 10-pin he knocked down should be reset. but I'm not sure if our official was watching. Now, the players should know. But with the Division 5 group, apparently they don't know. That would have knocked down the 10-pin. And he wasn't working on a spare, so he didn't get any extra pins in count. I think it's going to work out the same either way. 7 out, and the lead passes back to the Morgans. But anytime the ball bounces out of the gutter, it is already dead, and any pinfall you get needs to be reset. If it happens again, don't rely on the official to call it. You got to do it yourself. Oh, and Tiana puts it right through the beak once again, this time leaving the 4, 6, 10. That's no fun. Fred makes sure on this 10-pin, covering it easily. And now Tiana giving this a little extra thought. There's not much thought to give to this. Just go for the 2 on the right. That's what she does. And she gets him. That's the sensible play. Dwight gets 4. Here's Michael. Oh, it's going to hook left, and he just gets 3. So both players with short count, but neither one of them was on a spare, so it doesn't hurt them. That'll hurt them. Getting 4 out is never good. That will send the lead back over to the Morgans. Now, can they keep it? Not like that. Well, it goes from a +14 to a -3 as the lead goes back to Fred and Dwight. And we're now in the 10th frame. So marks are critical here. You could win the match with 1 mark in the 10th here, the way things are going. Tiana in the pocket, leaves the 10. Her high game, a 245. She needs to summon some of that stuff to make this 10-pin. You never know, it might be enough. Oh, look at this. Fred hits him thin and gets the 2-pin to fall from behind. Oh no, Tiana runs by the 10-pin just as her opponent, Fred, throws a strike. So it's going to come down to little Michael Morgan. Can he save the day for the Morgans? Looks like it's going to be up to him, and he's going to go. All right, well, all is not lost yet. He could still mark. We don't know what the other guys are going to do. Well, that's interesting. What is that? That's the 4-8. That pin in front of the 8-pin is the 4-pin. Believe it or not. Well, Michael does not mark in the 10th, and that's no good. That is going to make it impossible for them to pull out a win here. So we already know Fred Gordon and Dwight Criswell have won match 1. But now, what is he shooting here? The pin setter has swept away the spare. Actually, I think he hit the reset button thinking that it would reset the correct pins, which these GSX machines will do for you. But in this case, I'm not sure anybody knows what was left standing. I was looking away when he threw it. I was there when this happened. I'm not sure if Michael Strack was looking, and I don't think Fred even knows what was left. This is actually very unusual pinfall, but watch the 4-pin. The second one from the left, it's going to get pushed over to the right behind the 2-pin, and it nudges the 2-pin forward. So that's actually the 4-8. If you were going to reset it, it should be the 4-8. But I'm not sure anybody's really going to know that. He nearly had the 2-4-8 all standing in one line. The 4 sleeper 8. I can't say I've ever seen that before. But they're going to do their best to try to reset what they think was standing. And this certainly isn't it. They've reset the 1-2-8. Is he going to shoot this? I guess it doesn't matter. The match is already won. We're going to leave his score up as 8 because that's what he actually got. And he makes the 1-2-8. Although I'm not sure he would have made the 4-8 if it had been left up the way it was standing, but I guess it really doesn't matter. The outcome is already decided. So all that's left is for Dwight to throw the last few balls here and put the exclamation point on this match. There's a 4 count. We already know it's going to be Fred Gordon Sr. and Dwight Criswell bowling for the championship in Division 5. Since we only have 2 matches today, we should have had 3 matches with 4 teams, but the number 2 qualifiers and the number 4 qualifiers both withdrew. Well, their adult partners withdrew anyway, and that forced the youth players out as well. Unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So coming up, Fred Gordon and Dwight Criswell bowl the lows for the title. In an opening match that started turning from the Morgans to Fred and Dwight about halfway through, and then got real close in the final frames, it finally ended up going to Fred Gordon Sr. and Dwight Criswell, largely because Tiana and Michael Morgan just couldn't buy a mark down the stretch. You know, it's why we coaches preach all the time about the importance of spares. Everybody wants to make strikes, but most matches are won and lost with spares, especially at this level. And poor Tiana, she picked the wrong time to get the split bug. 5 of them in that match. Covering your spares is always more achievable when you leave easier ones. So anyway, Dwight Criswell and his adult partner Fred Gordon Sr. have advanced. And because our stepladder is shortened to just 2 matches today, here we are in the championship match already with our tournament leaders, 4-year-old Cameron Lowe and his dad Kyle. Cameron actually turns 5 the first week of April. Now here's a fun fact. He bowls league with us at Olathe Lanes East in our bumper league, and has just recently requested that the bumpers be lowered whenever he's bowling. So it hasn't been long since he started bowling without the aid of bumpers, but they won't be available to him today. And I think if you were to ask Cameron, he would tell you, I don't need no stinking bumpers. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm sure that's what he thinks. All right, it's going to be Fred Gordon Sr. to throw the first ball of the match. Oh, he gets the light shaker and sends something over to the 10 to deliver the message. And that is a strike, and he's shaking his head like, I don't know how I got that, but you got that. And now Kyle Lowe, who bowled in the KCO back when he was in high school, and I'm not going to say how long ago that was, but a decade or 2 maybe. Oh! The headpin nearly falls over, but that's the washout. And Dwight Criswell leaves the 3-5-6, so both of these players with challenging spares to begin. I'd rather be shooting the spare that Dwight Criswell has up, but Kyle is going to have to cross over to the left side and get this washout. But he gets too much of the headpin, and that's an open to start. And Dwight slides by the 3-5-6, so he's got an open to start. And now here's the little guy. And that one is going to find the left gutter. He could have used a bumper, but unfortunately we don't offer bumpers at the KCO. That's okay. You keep an eye on him. He will not get discouraged. I think a lot of the adult bowlers I've seen could learn a lesson from his resilience and his optimism. He's just going to keep plugging away. He's getting 80 pins of handicap, so that should give you some idea of what kind of average we're looking at. All right, here's his dad, Kyle, up in the second frame. That's more like what he's looking for. And now Fred Gordon going for a double. But he's light with the shot. Leaves the 2-4. Now Cam up on the left lane. And that one's a little wide right. So he's testing out the boundaries. He knows where the left gutter is, and now he knows where the right gutter is. He's going to confer with Dad before throwing his spare attempt. Not sure. I think he's going to go. Maybe. I think we're going to get some pinfall this time. Maybe. No. Okay. Well, he's just getting warmed up. Oh, look at this. Fred, a little wide with that spare attempt, sends the two around the floor as he shakes his head in bewilderment. How did I miss that? Well, it's an open frame. Now, once again, we add the handicap into each player's score in the very first frame. So that's how we have some funny-looking scores in the early frames. As we see Dwight with a balk. I think we score that as a balk. Well, he keeps it on the lane, but gets just 4. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think the house record is going to be safe today. Although tomorrow, when we're back for Divisions 1, 2, and 3 and filming Division 1, Tyler Gromlowitz will be in the house, and he did set the house record here last year. There's the 2-4-8. And Dwight having a hard time keeping that ball on the lane. And a little coaching tip for you, Dwight. Got to swing that thing straight back, straight through. You're swinging it out to in and then across your body. And you just got to swing that thing straight back, straight through. Think about the boards on the floor beneath your feet, those lines that define the boards. Try to swing the ball parallel to those lines. There's a good spare by Fred. I think he likes that left lane a little better than he does the right lane. And now Kyle working on a strike. Boy, he would love to get another one right here. He may have to carry the team across the finish line. Oh, no! What kind of nonsense is that? As Dwight goes a little high, and that 8-pin just fell over. Pin setter knocked it over or something. But he did leave the 8. We all saw it. He had the 6-8. The 6 fell out first. But the pin setter picked up the 8 and then knocked it over somehow. Kyle with another open frame. That's not what he had in mind. Now, if he hits the reset button like he just did, the machine should know to reset the 8. And there it is. I love it when a plan comes together. Meanwhile, here's Cam. We gonna see pinfall? I think we might. There you go. There's 4. And maybe a spare for Dwight. Yes. So we're starting to heat up now. Look at this little guy. He is undaunted. It just tails off at the end, but he gets 8. That's his biggest frame so far this game. Now, I know with an 80-pin handicap, he wasn't shooting big scores today to get into the #1 position with his dad. And I have a feeling Dad might have contributed mightily to them rising to the top of the standings, but I'm sure Cameron was getting more than 3 or 4 pins a frame in a lot of frames today. So I don't know, maybe he's nervous bowling in front of the camera. Maybe he's tired. I don't know, but he's still got 7 frames left, so let's not sell him short. Still a lot of bowling left. That was a good shot. Just fractionally high, and Kyle leaves the 4-pin. but that was in the vicinity. And Fred stuffs him straight back, finally gets a shot that he liked on the right lane. Kyle takes the hook out of the ball to shoot at his spares. Throws it a little extra hard to take even more hook out. I like that method. There you go, Dwight. That'll be good for a few. He gets 5 with that. And now Cam, if that ball will just stay on the lane, but no, it's tailing right and falls into the moat. But you see the score is still close. It's 2 pins. The Lows still lead. And there's another open frame by Dwight, so the Lows are going to lead by even more. As Cam heaves this one down the lane, and is this going to stay on? I think it is. He's going to get some. There is 5, and he's pretty happy about it. How do you not love that enthusiasm? My goodness. Some of us can even remember bowling at that age, or close to it. And every time you could knock down some pins, it was a celebration. Well, once again, as I mentioned earlier, the players to our right on lanes 3 and 4, that is the Division 4 group. And when we get to the end of the show and have talked to our winner here, we'll fill you in on how the stepladder played out over there. Light hit, doesn't quite get the 7 to go. And now Kyle Lowe back up on the right lane. Would like to get a little string of strikes started. Can't get a string if you don't get the first one. And that's a little too light. He gets 8. There's a 8-pin back there. I don't think you can quite see it. That's why they call them sleepers. Oh, but look at this. Fred slides by the 7-pin. He is not happy with that one. So the Lows lead is 9 pins. Well, Kyle covers that 2-8 beautifully. We're going to have to get Dwight schooled on throwing a regular hook ball instead of that backup. Okay, Cam, I'm liking this one a lot. Oh, my goodness. Well, that's not fair. Pocket 7-10 for the little guy. And Dwight's attempt at the 1-2 spare drifts off to the right, and that's an open frame. And look at this. The Lows lead has grown to 21. Now it's likely to shrink back down some after this. That's going to be 8 out for Cameron. So the Lows lead is down to 9. And we are halfway through the championship match. There's a scoring mix-up on the computer in the building. Has now been corrected. Well, Fred has a 299 to his credit. He bowls in several leagues in the area. He's a mechanic. He could probably fix some of these problems with these pin setters if we asked him. Good strike. Now Kyle Lowe, who also has a 300 to his credit and an 837. Thank you very much. This young man is a software engineer and comes from a family of bowlers. It comes in thin and doesn't quite get the 2-pin to go. Dwight picks a piece of the head pin, but sends it around the 3, and now he's left the 3, 5, 6, 9. Usually thought to be the left-hander's bucket. You don't see a right-hander leave that unless they throw a backup. Easy spare for Kyle. Now this is not such an easy spare for Dwight. Let's see what he can do with it. Boy, he had it going in the right direction, but because he was throwing a backup, he hit it on the wrong side of the 3-pin. And look at this. Look at this. Is Cam going to find the pocket again? Almost. He leaves the 2-7 and gives his dad a thumbs up on that one. Anytime he gets as many as 8 on the first ball, that has to be considered a plus. But now he's got a tricky little spare. Got to fit that ball between the 2 and the 7. If it'll hook. Oh, maybe. Oh, it's going to overhook. Still 9 out. I think he's happy with that. We've got a close match. And it keeps going back and forth. And with the 2 youth players struggling to make marks, this is really going to come down to a match between Kyle and Fred. And if the kids can throw just a mark here or there, they could be big. Oh, no. The 2, 8, 10. That's not what the doctor ordered. Fred goes right through the nose. That could have been all kinds of trouble, but he leaves just the 3. The way you make the 2, 8, 10, if you're really going for it, is you got to hit the 2 over toward the 10 or off the wall, have it bounce off the wall, come back and hit the 10 from the right into the 8. It's very rarely made. The smart play is what Kyle just did. Take the count and go quietly. He will sit down and root on his little boy, Cameron. But that one is going to find the gutter. As Fred covers the 3-pin. So well, it's not going to happen. Well, we know that Cameron is 4 and turns 5 in early April. Dwight is 13. Has been bowling for about a year. Bowls league here at Aaron's Family Fun Center. His high game is a 220. And he bowled in the December Adult Youth Doubles Tournament with Fred Gordon over at Olathe Lanes East. Didn't make the telecast on Prodigy because we weren't covering their division that day. We covered Division 4 that day, but he finished 2nd. He made the stepladder, qualifying 4th, won a couple of matches, and then lost the championship match to the Shaunifers. Young Shane Shaunifer and Randy Shaunifer. And we didn't see them today. They didn't come up from Chanute, Kansas this time. But if you're ever in Chanute and looking for a place to bowl, they can show you the way. All right, Kyle needs to get going here. Oh, man. That was an awfully good shot not to get rewarded. There's a spare for Fred. Keeping the heat on as the team of Fred Gordon and Dwight Criswell lead by 14 pins. Kyle makes short work of that 10-pin. And look at Dwight. Got a mixer, almost got a strike out of it. It leaves just the 7. As Cameron now taking a couple of warm-up swings. How about this one? Will this stay up? No, it's going to tail off to the right. He gets 4. And Dwight gets a spare. That's huge for them. Any kind of mark you can get at this late stage of the match to protect your lead is huge. Now, if this one will back up a little bit like the last one did, it's going to back up a little bit, but he only gets 1 out of it. So that's a 5 count for the frame. And Fred and Dwight hold a 29-pin lead. So I'd have to say that it's getting dire for Kyle and Cameron. We're going to need to see strikes out of Dad. And if Cameron can chip in with a spare somewhere and good count, that would be enormous. But they're probably not going anywhere if Kyle can't string a few strikes here at the end. He's certainly capable. Oh my goodness. He had the lily staring at him for just an instant. The 5, 7, 10, but they all went out on a light shaker. I don't think I've ever seen that. How about it? How about it? All right, there's 8. Cameron might be able to make that 6-10 if he can get that little backup ball going. Oh, look at Fred snap out the 10 like a boss. That's big. Oh, he's got the right type of rotation on the ball, but he didn't borrow enough to the left, so it falls off into the gutter. Well, now, how often in your life have you seen a right-hander leave the 6-8 or the 6-8-10? I can count the times on one hand, and I'll have a couple of fingers to spare. He gets 2 of them, but that's going to tighten the match slightly. 27-pin differential heading into the 10th frame. Both adults working on a strike. Fred fails to put a double up, so Kyle, a strike here and another one in the 11th. And you could make this very interesting. But he's got a strike. And there's one. Well, that's a big spare conversion for Fred. That'll make Kyle and Cameron's job a little tougher. Kyle, if he can strike here, can cut the lead to 7. If he gets good count in the 10th, it could come down to count by the 2 youth bowlers. But he must strike here. Not only does he not strike, but he separates the 2 and 4 a little bit, making the spare a little tougher. There's a strike by Fred. So he's in with a 205. And now that 4-pin fell over, so Kyle resets the rack, hoping the pin setter will know which pins to reset, and it did. That 4-pin had moved just enough that it was out of range, and the pin setter knocked it over. Dwight is going to go here. He can put an end to this, and I think that'll do it. No, not quite. All right. There's a spare. So a 185 for Kyle Lowe. And I think it's going to come down to Cameron Lowe needing a bunch of strikes here at the end. And that is not going to happen. And the team of Dwight Criswell and Fred Gordon Sr. have won the Division 5 championship at the 2025 KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. It wasn't the best bowling we've ever seen. I think that's an understatement. But it was pretty entertaining and very human. And there's Kyle Lowe giving a little lesson in sportsmanship to his young son, Cameron. When somebody beats you, you go shake their hand and congratulate them, because that's what good sports do. And I applaud that. Well, we have champions in Division 5 at the 2025 KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. It's Dwight Criswell and Fred Gordon Sr. We'll visit with them next. In a championship match that wasn't decided until the 10th frame, little Cameron and his dad Kyle both could have used maybe one more mark to swing the match around. Obviously, Cam has a ways to go to be truly competitive in this environment, but I know he was thrilled to be here, and I know of at least a few people who are mighty proud of him. You can start with his dad Kyle, his mom Katie, and his grandpa Bill. And you know what? You can add me to that list, too. But on this day, it's Dwight Criswell and his adult partner, Fred Gordon Sr., who made the shots they needed to sweep our 2 stepladder matches and take top honors today in Division 5 at the 2025 KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. So let's get you down to the lanes to meet the champs. Look, we have 2 new winners on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And look at this smile out of Dwight Criswell. Where do you bowl?
At Aaron's Fun Center.
You bowl here?
Yeah.
So this was a home field win for you?
Yeah.
And who's this guy?
Fred Gordon.
You know him?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
The 2 of you just took first place in Division 5 at the 2025 KCO March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. Can you believe I remembered all those words?
Yeah.
It did actually happen. And, well, how did you do it?
Because I come here every Saturday and practice as hard as I can, and when I never give up.
Is this guy your coach?
No, my uncle is.
Your uncle is your coach. Okay. And what about you? You look to me like you've bowled before today.
I'm on like 3 leagues.
You're in 3 leagues?
Sir.
Are they all here?
Oh, 1 here. One at Premier, one at Ward Park Lanes.
Oh, wow. I bowled at Ward Parkway a little bit when I was growing up.
Yeah.
It's the only bowling center that's still open from those days.
Is it?
That I used to bowl at. But
oh, yeah, the King Louis closed down.
Yeah, all those King Louis centers are gone. So, well, how did you do it? Did he carry you?
Honestly, for the last game, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so here's the deal. By winning this tournament today, you have just punched your ticket into the season-ending Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. You get to sign the coveted trophy pin. So put your name on it, put today's date on it. Today is, what is it, the 22nd or 23rd? I don't know. It's all a blur to me.
March 22nd.
March 22nd.
That's on
25. Put your name on there. You can put your name on there too, Fred. But you are not eligible for the Tournament of Champions. That's just for youth bowlers.
21st.
And then he can sign as well. And so that tournament will be held at Olathe Lanes East in Olathe on the Sunday after Father's Day. I think that's the 22nd of June. And the winner will win not only a nice little scholarship prize, but the winner will also take possession of the coveted trophy pin. And who knows, it might be you. So congratulations to you both.
All right, thank you.
All right, way to go, guys.
Thank you much.
As I mentioned earlier in the show, the group bowling in the periphery to our right on lanes 3 and 4 were the Division 4 finalists. Here's how their stepladder played out. In match 1, the 3 seeds, Julian Robinson and his adult partner Edward Collins, defeated Ella Deal and her adult brother Ethan, who you've seen before on Prodigy. The final totals 408 to 376. Then in match 2, Atarius Whitmill and his adult partner Kim Ramsey dispatched Julian Robinson and Edward Collins in a squeaker 399 to 398. And that set up the championship match, where Atarius Whitmill and Kim Ramsey took first place over the tournament leaders, Noah Fry and his adult partner Sean Fry, by a final score of 438 to 401. So, congratulations to Atarius Whitmill and his adult partner Kim Ramsey. I told Kim that every time I looked up and saw her throw a ball, she was making another quality shot. On our next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, we'll bring you the championship round in Division 1. And I will tell you now that one of the adult partners is none other than one of our 3 reigning PBAA Co-Players of the Year, Nolan Nash. You will not want to miss episode 187, dropping in about a week. There are only 3 more KCO tournaments on the 2024-25 calendar, with the April Point Tournament in Leavenworth, the May Point Tournament in St. Joseph, and the KCO Invitational in Olathe. If you'd like to bowl in a KCO, go to their website at www.kansascityopen.com, where you'll find everything you need to know to enter. If you liked the video today, by all means leave a thumbs up. And don't forget to smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to receive notifications whenever we post new content to the channel. And please, leave a comment down below. We just ask that you not post a spoiler, a comment that gives away what happens. To keep up with all things Prodigy, join our Facebook group. From any page on Facebook, type Prodigy Bowlers Tour in the search bar and hit return. That'll take you to a page where you can submit a request to join the group. But be sure to answer the 3 screening questions, or else your request to join may be declined. To support the creative work that goes into producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour, become a Prodigy patron. For as little as $5 a month, you'll get early access to all our full-length episodes of the show. And for just $10 a month, you'll get early access and you'll get your name listed in the show's closing credits as an executive producer. Sign up at www.patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and you will receive my undying gratitude for your support and kindness. Well, that's a wrap for this edition of Prodigy. I wish we could have included Frank Miller and Colin Leverett, the two youth bowlers whose adult partners chose to leave after qualifying, despite qualifying for the stepladder finals. I hate that these two youth bowlers were deprived of the opportunity they earned, but I hope they'll have another chance soon. Until we meet again on episode 187, the Division I finals from this same 2025 Adult Youth Doubles Tournament at Aaron's Family Fun Center in Belton, Missouri. This is Coach Randy, reminding you to stay behind the foul line and keep kicking out the corner pins, not the foul lights and ball returns. And I'll talk to you next time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, go get your bowl on.